An alpha in a political marriage falls for a sweet omega. While I am an omega whose very pheromones exude the rich aroma of whiskey. I am a far cry from anything sugary or clingy. Everyone wagers that our marriage will not last beyond 6 months. Yet, at the family gathering a year later, I sit cross-legged, while that dashing alpha caters to my every whim. Those capable of striking up a conversation with me inquire, "How did you manage that?" Upon learning of my impending marriage, I was still abroad, racing. The roar of the engines rendered the voice on the other end somewhat ethereal. "Hey sis, what did you say? I can't hear you." I said, "You better come back and get married, or it'll freeze all your bank accounts." With that single proclamation, my carefree existence was abruptly paused. I obediently returned home, quarreled, created a ruckus, and ultimately found myself shackled and led to the altar. That night, not a morsel of food graced my lips, and my mouth was stuffed with red cloth for uttering profanities in the morning. I was under constant surveillance throughout the day, and finally, I seized the opportunity to untie the bonds that restrained me. After much effort to rid myself of the encumbrances, a sudden sound of footsteps echoed at the doorway. I hastily stuffed the cloth back into my mouth and wrapped the rope around my wrists a few times. The door swung open, revealing a tall, handsome alpha before me. It appeared that he, too, was dissatisfied with this matrimonial arrangement. Leaning against the doorframe with arms crossed, he remarked, "I trust you've heard that my preference leans towards soft, fragrant omegas, rather than one bound to a marriage. Thus, post-nuptials, we shall each pursue our own pleasures if you remain silent. I shall take it as your agreement." While I wholeheartedly concur with the notion of pursuing separate interests, the implication that my silence equates to consent is utterly absurd. Does he not see that my mouth is still gagged? It dawned on me that this fellow was merely here to provoke me. Well then, he should not be surprised if my temper flares. 2. I expelled the cloth from my mouth, untangled the ropes, and grasped them firmly in my hand, calling out to the one who was turning to leave. "Hey, your wife is still bound here. How can you just walk away like that? Have you no humanity?" He turned back, momentarily startled by my sudden liberation, only to furrow his brow in disdain. "What are you shouting about? My wife could never be someone like you. If it weren't for your sister threatening me with the project, I would never consider bringing someone like you into my life." It had been a long time since I returned home, and I was astonished at how these wealthy scions had become so arrogant. I licked my back molars, tugged at the rope in my hands, my eyes devoid of any awareness that today was supposed to be our wedding. Instead, they sparkled with excitement for the impending fight. I advanced step by step towards the one called Pei Chingyan, a smile on my lips but venom in my eyes. "Darling, why don't you try saying that again?" 3. Pei Chingyan was indeed quite strong, but alas, I had spent my days abroad in boxing rings and extreme sports, so handling a mere man was more than sufficient. Moreover, perhaps due to his intention to avoid consummating our union today, the restraint on the back of his neck was firmly in place. I pinned him to the bed, sitting atop his waist and binding his flailing limbs into a charming bow. Then, I reached back and delivered a playful slap to his sturdy backside. "Shout louder. Can't hear you." Oddly enough, since I first pinned him down, his curses had been quite vigorous, but upon my urging for him to raise his voice, he began to whisper, You are too much, you're a pervert." I had never been scolded in such a petulant manner before, and it sent shivers down my spine. "Ugh, what are you pouting about? How disgusting." Predictably, upon hearing this, his words became fervent once more. "Who is pouting? I'm not a... Do you understand?" Before I could comprehend the connection between his indignation and my teasing, a knock echoed at the door. "Mr. Pei, Mr. Chung. I heard some commotion upstairs. Is there anything I can assist with?" The voice belonged to my sister's hired supervisor. I swiftly covered Pei Chingyan's mouth to stifle his protests and called out cheerfully to the person outside. "No worries, Aunt Lee. We're just indulging in some playful fun. Don't be concerned." The voice outside grew awkward. All right then. Feel free to call me if you need anything." With Aunt Lee's departure, I felt somewhat fatigued. Thus, I stuffed the red cloth into Pei Chingyan's mouth. "You'll have to make do with this tonight. I'm off to sleep now, good night." Despite the murderous glare he cast upon me, I nestled beside him, stretched, and comfortably drifted into slumber. 4. When I awoke the next morning, Pei Chingyan was still asleep, the ropes around him unchanged. Goodness! This fool couldn't he even untie himself? After a night of slumber, wouldn't he be completely numb? Out of kindness, I unbound him and then headed to the restroom. Upon my return, I found him tossing and turning in bed, murmuring to himself. I approached and gently tapped his cheek. "Get up, Stop the whining. He shot me a glance of annoyance and turned away, ignoring me. I seized a corner of the shirt he was lying on and yanked it sharply. Pei Chengyan was caught off guard, flipping over and nearly tumbling off the bed. I couldn't help but laugh hysterically, almost to the point of pain. His face was buried in the pillow, refusing to show himself. After I had my fill of laughter, I hummed a tune while changing clothes and made my way downstairs. Aunt Lee was already preparing breakfast, arranging the dishes while asking, "Mr. Chang, where is Mr. Pei? Should I prepare his meal? Just call me Xiaoyan, Aunt. No need to prepare anything for him, and don't bother calling him. He*s exhausted from last night, you understand." I mischievously winked at Aunt Lee, who chuckled knowingly in response. After a hearty meal, I skipped out the door with the car keys in hand. Had I known that marrying like this would allow me to frolic freely under my sister's watchful eye, I would have done it ages ago. 5. Once I stepped outside, I spent an entire week playing without a care. I completely forgot about my foolish husband and the watchful aunt at home. When my sister dragged me out of a nightclub by my ear, I still clutched an unfinished drink and a die in my hand. "You, a married woman, frequenting nightclubs and racing cars daily. Are you trying to drive me to my grave?" Upon reaching the nightclub entrance, I expertly wrapped my arms around my sister's waist, apologizing profusely. "Sister, I'm sorry. Please show mercy just this once, all right? Get away. I can't manage you anymore. Go seek your husband's forgiveness." Husband? Took a moment for my brain to register the name. That one with the surname Pei? My sister rolled her eyes in exasperation, gesturing towards a figure not far off. I followed her gaze slowly, only to find the very man I had bullied a week prior, impeccably dressed, leaning against the car door with a cold stare directed at me. He looked like a male model, playing the part perfectly. I pursed my lips and straightened my posture, brushing off the wrinkles in my clothes. "You, go back with him obediently. Stop making me worry." My sister poked me in the chest, enunciating each word. Pei Chengyan stood nearby, yet I instinctively pouted at my sister. "Sister, don't you love me anymore? Why are you shoving me towards someone else?" 6. It turned out that their kind truly did not understand love. My sister bound my hands with her coat and personally shoved me into Pei Chengyan's car. "I apologize for the trouble, dear brother-in-law. Don't hold it against him. I understand, sister. You can rest easy." My sister and Pei Chengyan exchanged pleasantries outside, while I sulked in the car. As my sister walked towards her own vehicle, Pei Chengyan joined me. I struck up a conversation with him, as if we had never had any disagreement. "Hey, what brings you here? Did my sister summon you?" Pei Chengyan wore a sour expression, remaining silent. "I'm talking to you." "Hey, wait a minute. You didn't go and complain to my sister, did you? Come on. You're the one who likes sweet, soft girls, right? We can just go our separate ways." "Why meddle?" I prattled on, but he remained unresponsive. By the time we reached home, he merely grunted, "We've arrived. Get out." I found his indifference amusing and leaned closer, grinning. "What's wrong? Really angry now? I only tied you up for one night. Is that so bad? Oh, wait. Could it be that you're upset because I slapped your backside?" Before I could finish my sentence, Pei Chengyan's face flushed a deep crimson from neck to roots. "Shut up. Can't you exhibit a modicum of decency? How can you be so shameless?" I shook my head and stuck out my tongue. "So what?" 7. Perhaps what I said that night truly startled Pei Chengyan. The one who stayed out all night became him. I was indifferent, even wishing to use it as an excuse to sneak out. Unfortunately, Aunt Lee was vigilant. She could even see through my pretense of calling Pei Chengyan. With no other option, I had to genuinely call him, hoping he would cooperate and let me out. As a result, the call was answered by a sweet-voiced girl. "Hello? Who are you looking for?" "I am looking for Pei Chengyan. Is he there?" "You're looking for Chengyan? Who are you?" Oh, the intimacy in her tone suggested a close relationship with Pei Chengyan. Feeling a twinge of mischief, compounded by my annoyance at him for gallivanting, I tightened my throat and replied, "I'm Pei Chengyan's wife." The other end fell silent, and I struggled to suppress my laughter. In the next moment, Pei Chengyan's voice erupted, particularly flustered. "Chung Jinyan, what nonsense are you spouting? Who would marry a wild and unruly person like you?" His words were harsh, and I immediately turned cold. "Pei Chengyan, say that again." He paused, then repeated through gritted teeth. I said, "Who would marry you?" Without letting him finish, I hung up the phone, tears streaming down my cheeks. Aunt Lee approached with concern. "What's wrong, Jinyan?" I wiped my tears, feigning strength. "It's nothing, just Pei Chengyan again. I'm going upstairs to rest. Please don't bother me. This was the first time Aunt Lee had seen me cry, and she hurriedly agreed. I felt truly heartbroken, though I was only pretending. I donned my gear and climbed down the pipe from the second floor to the ground. Then, I had my friend track Pei Qingyan's location. Pei Qingyan, your father has arrived. Following the navigation sent by my friend, I found myself outside a bar I frequented. To my surprise, it turned out to be a gathering of like-minded individuals. Thanks to my familiarity with the bar staff, I was able to navigate through effortlessly and arrived directly at the private room Pei Qingyan had reserved. After transferring some money to the bar owner via WeChat, I kicked open the door to the room. Suddenly, silence enveloped the room as everyone stared at me in disbelief. Pei Qingyan at the center of it all, particularly conspicuous. I smiled brightly and waved the coarse rope in my hand. Good darling, your wife has come to take you home. Are you happy? Pei Qingyan's face turned ashen, and he hurriedly approached me, lowering his voice. What are you doing here? Can you not cause a scene? Let us talk about this when we get home. I tilted my head, raising an eyebrow, remaining silent. Pei Qingyan lowered his voice further, gritting his teeth. What on earth do you want? Speak. I traced the rough rope along his jawline, my tone suggestive. I think I should properly discipline you, lest your vulgarity continues unabated. As I uttered the final words, I lifted my eyelids to look at him, filled with mischief. Yet, he stared at me blankly, devoid of any reaction. I instinctively took a half-step back, puzzled. What's wrong? Have you been stunned into silence? Pei Qingyan suddenly snapped back to reality. Who is stunned? I'm telling you to hurry back. Don't hinder my business here. Just then, a delicately featured girl, dressed like a student, approached and wrapped her arms around Pei Qingyan's. Yes, sister-in-law, you should go back. I'll take good care of brother Qingyan. Recognizing her voice, I redirected my gaze to Pei Qingyan, noticing his expression had turned wooden, speechless. Instead of feeling angry, I found it amusing. Well, Pei Qingyan, keeping me locked at home while you frolic about. What a coincidence, I do enjoy taming such challenges. Without a word, I executed a sweeping kick, causing Pei Qingyan to tumble to the ground. The sound elicited gasps from the surrounding crowd, and the girl was left frozen in place. Cheng Jinyan, what are you trying to do? Pei Qingyan finally found his voice, attempting to rise. I placed my foot on his knee, pressing him back down. Then, I surveyed the room full of onlookers. I kindly ask everyone present to listen closely. I will only say this once. Pei Qingyan is already married. Should I find out that anyone dares to privately invite him to such venues again, I trust you will be interested in my free-fighting credentials. No one in attendance dared to speak, and I nodded with satisfaction. Grabbing Pei Qingyan by the collar, I pulled him up from the floor. As for you, we shall discuss this at home. In truth, I merely wished to embarrass Pei Qingyan in front of his friends. I never intended to truly confront him. Yet he, with a face flushed in defiance, shouted at me, "What do you really want? I assure you, I will never submit." I chuckled coldly, leaning closer, my upper body inclining towards him, my hand grazing over his abs. I heard him swallow audibly. I then opened the car door beside him. I want to go home and sleep, you fool. Hurry up and get out. I'm exhausted. After a night of commotion, I had no intention of climbing back in but instead strolled through the front door. Just as I kicked off my shoes, I heard Aunt Lee's voice. Mr. Pei, have you returned? Pei Qingyan, still behind me, was muttering and hadn't caught Aunt Lee's words. However, I heard clearly and in an instant, I dove into Pei Qingyan's embrace, using his coat to cover my clothing. Then I feigned a high-pitched voice. Darling, why did you take so long to come back? Do you know I've been waiting for you? To enhance my act, I buried my face into his chest, fake sobbing. I missed you so much. I couldn't sleep a wink without you. Pei Qingyan's body stiffened for a moment before he slowly wrapped his arms around me, patting my back. After a brief period of silence, I peeked out from his coat to see if anyone was around. Aunt Lee had indeed retreated to her room. I breathed a sigh of relief and comfortably leaned my head against Pei Qingyan's chest. You scared me. I almost got caught. Hey, I say, have you leaned enough? Since Pei Qingyan was wedged against the threshold, I had to look up at him. I'm just leaning a bit. We're married now, so why are you still pretending to be the virtuous husband? I pouted, filled with disdain, and playfully slapped his firm chest. Besides, wow, you've really been training well. How do you manage to achieve such elasticity? I squeezed his muscles, comparing them to my own, sighing at the disparity. When I raised my head to urge him to share his workout methods, I noticed that Pei Qingyan's skin, from his face down to beneath his shirt, had turned an alarming shade of red, resembling a cooked shrimp. Startled, I quickly patted his face. Wait a minute, are you allergic? Did you drink too much, or are you allergic to the air? Don't scare me. I don't want to be a widow at a young age. You're such a scoundrel. Pei Chengyan inexplicably berated me before stepping down from the threshold and storming upstairs in a huff. I was momentarily baffled, forgetting to remind him that he had entered my room. When I returned to my own room, Pei Chengyan was still in the bathroom showering. Feeling too lazy to switch rooms, I simply fell asleep in my own bed, thinking he would figure out he had entered the wrong room. With that thought, I drifted off without a care. In my dreams, a faint scent of grass wafted through, so delightful that it lulled me into a deep slumber. The next morning, when I awoke to see that handsome face before me, my first reaction was not to punch him. Instead, I stared blankly at Pei Chengyan's face, inexplicably feeling a sense of security wash over me. From a young age, I have grown accustomed to waking up alone in bed, even when abroad. It is not merely the solitude of waking, but also the vigilance against the intrusion of others. Such a soothing and tranquil slumber, as I experienced this time, is indeed rare. Having indulged in a restful sleep, my spirits soared, and I found myself smiling gleefully at Pei Chengyan. After a while, he stirred awake, rubbing his eyes in a daze. Good morning. He had just emerged from slumber, looking rather bewildered. Yes, good morning. My goodness, he truly is striking. Can anyone comprehend this? Typically, the morning is when one appears their least polished, yet the sunlight streaming through the curtain seams cast a flawless glow upon his face. Intrigued, I leaned closer, scrutinizing the pores on his skin. He made no attempt to shy away, allowing my examination to continue. Hey, how do you maintain such a complexion? Your face resembles a peeled egg, while mine is nowhere near as refined. Pei Chengyan sighed. If you would refrain from swearing and temper outbursts, your skin would naturally improve. I clicked my tongue in dissatisfaction, choosing to feign ignorance of his remark. Is it because you enjoy sweets that you've become like this? Ah, then I too. Before I could finish, he covered my mouth with his hand. Blinking in confusion, I gazed at him. After a considerable pause, he spoke with a complex expression. Stop talking. Your breath stinks. Go brush your teeth first. Nonsense. I brush my teeth every morning and night. How could I possibly have bad breath? Indignant, I pushed his hand away, straddling his waist and pinning him down firmly. I pressed my face close to his. Who has bad breath? Say that again, I dare you. Pei Chengyan's eyes twinkled with mirth, though his words remained stern. You, it's you. Our playful banter escalated, leaving us both breathless. Suddenly, my door was kicked open. Cheng Jinyan, did you? My legs were wrapped around Pei Chengyan's waist, my arms entwined around his neck, and through the gap between his supporting arms and the doorway, I exchanged glances with my sister. Oh dear, you two carry on. Without hesitation, my sister retreated and closed the door swiftly. It dawned on Pei Chengyan a moment too late, his face flushing, while I released my hold in frustration, patting my head. Great, my sister would surely accuse me of bullying Pei Chengyan again. I slumped onto the bed, despondent and avoiding the realities of life, while Pei Chengyan approached to urge me. Hurry up, your sister is waiting outside. I turned over, expressing my refusal. I don't want to go. It's too bothersome. Unperturbed, Pei Chengyan scooped me up effortlessly. My body stiffened, feeling as rigid as a dried fish in his grasp. Let me help you brush your teeth and wash your face. All right? We shouldn't keep your sister waiting. That would be quite rude. Just like my sister, he was relentless. However, being pampered while getting ready was indeed enjoyable. I acquiesced to Pei Chengyan's assistance, eventually tugging at his shirt as we made our way to the living room. At that moment, my sister sat comfortably on the sofa, her legs crossed. Cheng Jinyan, come out. I want tea. I hid behind Pei Chengyan, refusing to show my face. It was no joke. My sister's sharp tongue was no mere exaggeration. All right then, explain to me what those items outside are all about. I stammered that I had forgotten something. Embarrassed, I pressed my head against Pei Chengyan's back, fidgeting with my hands. Help! To my surprise, Pei Chengyan seemed to understand my unspoken plea. Sister, it's all my fault. I pressured him into using this method to find me. My sister sighed in resignation, and sensing the atmosphere of forgiveness, I cautiously peeked out from behind Pei Chengyan. That's right, it's all his fault. My sister hissed, causing me to retract my head once more. She approached Pei Chengyan. Stop indulging him so much. If you don't set boundaries, it will be you who suffers in the end. I understand, sister. You needn't worry. I hid behind Pei Qingyan, unable to discern his expression. Yet, the seriousness in his tone was palpable. He was earnest with my sister and equally so regarding my affairs. He seemed far removed from the carefree, roguish persona he usually embodied. After my sister's admonitions, she departed. My brother, with a friendly pat on Pei Qingyan's shoulder, expressed genuine gratitude. Thank you. Marriage is indeed preferable. One doesn't have to face reprimands alone. I smiled brightly at Pei Qingyan, only for him to gently thump my forehead. You just can't be honest, can you? I dramatically cupped my forehead, exclaiming, Hey, what do you mean by that? Wasn't it you who spent last week out all night, living it up? I was reprimanded by you, so I want to do it again. But you can't continue like this either. I scoffed, shrugging dismissively. If I don't. As long as you can endure it, I certainly can too. Pei Qingyan turned to me, his gaze direct and unwavering. You said it. I lowered my hands, feeling an inexplicable emotion but still maintaining my defiance. Yes, I said it. Stumped by my word. Initially, anyone would have deemed that statement a jest. However, when I genuinely refrained from setting foot in a bar for an entire month and instead spent my days with Pei Qingyan, engaged in work and leisurely outings, I began to recognize the true weight of my words. One day, as we navigated the crowded pedestrian street hand in hand, I indulged my craving for street food, while savoring a candied hawthorn myself. A text from a friend abroad jolted me into realizing the extent of my decline. Nian, I've arrived in your country. Can we meet? I replied with a simple yes, and, before Pei Qingyan turned his gaze back to me, I nonchalantly tucked my phone away. Is it delicious? Perhaps it was my guilty conscience, but when he inquired about the taste, I instinctively offered him my candied hawthorn. Try it. Pei Qingyan took a bite, savoring it. Delicious. Sweet. In an impulsive moment, I added, you do have a penchant for sweetness, whether in snacks or in companionship. Upon hearing this, Pei Qingyan turned to look at me, and as our eyes met, we both instinctively averted our gazes. The grip of his hand around mine tightened. It's unreasonable. You insisted on buying these snacks. Regardless, I find myself ensnared by you. I retorted instinctively, what do you mean ensnared by me? If you wish, we can part ways at any time. It's merely a marriage of convenience. He fell silent, as did I. It wasn't until we reached the car that we both spoke simultaneously. I'm sorry. With a chuckle, we both burst into laughter like fools. Ultimately, our intertwined fingers remained reluctant to part. I pondered, despite having abstained from alcohol for so long. Why did I feel so intoxicated? The day I met my friend was an outing I undertook alone. Although throughout the month, Pei Qingyan and I had been closely monitoring one another, today, I preferred to keep him away from this encounter. Long time no see. Indeed, it's been a while. Nian. The man stepped forward to embrace me, even taking the liberty of sniffing my neck. His proximity to my glands made me uncomfortable, prompting me to push him away. You're at it again. My friend chuckled heartily, hands raised in jest. Apologies, Nian, you know I tend to be rather carefree. However, you seem to carry a rather unpleasant scent. Is that so? I replied, taking a seat. I find it rather pleasant, actually. The aroma of fresh grass. Every time I drift off to sleep with it, I enjoy a restful slumber. Oh, so, are you suggesting that you sleep every night alongside the scent of grass? Although this was largely due to Pei Qingyan's apparent obliviousness to the notion of separate sleeping arrangements, coupled with my own fondness for a good night's sleep, it remained a truth nonetheless. Indeed, he is my partner, so naturally I sleep with him. I poured myself a glass of water nonchalantly, yet my friend's tone shifted to one of incredulity. Partner? Do I interpret that correctly? Are you two in a relationship? No, not a relationship. I sipped my water. Oh, that's a relief. But a relationship wouldn't be a problem, given our kind of people have playful hearts. Occasionally indulging in emotions is only natural. What do you mean by play? We are not merely in a relationship. We are legal partners. I swallowed my sip, casting a complex gaze his way. Legal partners? My friend stared at me, momentarily taken aback. Nian, have you forgotten our pact to live joyfully together for a lifetime? Why have you suddenly? His excitement surged. I raised my hand to signal him to calm down. Take it easy. I came to clarify this matter with you. I believe that for a considerable time, I will no longer live as I once did, and I hope you can understand. I cannot understand. This is betrayal. Betrayal of what? I lifted my gaze, coldly scrutinizing the man who had risen in agitation. I had thought you to be a clever individual. Some people surround me merely to extract money for their amusements. Others are drawn to my gender. And then there are a few, or rather one person, who embodies both. I am fully aware of all this. However, I require your company to alleviate boredom, which is why I remain silent. Now, however, I wish to cease the games. Shouldn't you all disperse obediently instead of clinging on? His fists clenched, and his expression twisted with discomfort. Yen, you are truly heartless. But I am curious. How serious are you about your legal partner? I stood as well, hands tucked into my pockets. That's none of your concern. Ask less. He appeared genuinely angry, yet I felt a sense of ennui. A person whose thoughts could be so easily discerned held no intrigue for me. Suddenly, he leaned in, cupping my face as if to kiss me. I stepped forward, forcefully colliding my forehead against his nose. He gasped in pain, but in retracting his hand, he inadvertently tore away my suppressor patch. One patch torn away from another, what was he attempting to achieve? It was obvious. The sudden surge of his pheromones overwhelmed me, leaving my limbs weak as I sank back into my chair. Cheng Jinyan. Just as I had begun to stand up, my mind clouding, I heard Pei Qingyan's voice. The fresh scent of grass filled my nostrils once more, and I regained my composure. Stumbling to my feet, I landed a punch on his already bleeding nose. Goodness. So it turns out you were the one who nearly caused my demise last time. At the hospital, Pei Qingyan fanned me while spraying a cooling agent. My sister approached, patting my head, unusually refraining from scolding me. Are you all right? Yes, sister. Don't you have any questions for me? What is there to ask? You almost had an accident during a race because of that person's released pheromones. I was outside your hospital room the entire time, only leaving once you were safe. If I had known then who he was, would he still be so brazen now? I even know someone spent a considerable sum to ensure you wouldn't win, which prompted him to take that risk. I pursed my lips, curling up in my seat. Enough of that. Stop sulking. The important thing is that you return safely. Leave those matters to your sister. She ruffled my hair somewhat roughly, yet warmth spread through my heart. Thank you, sister. I love you most. I looked up, smiling carefree at her. In my preoccupation with my sister's demeanor, I had failed to notice the storm brewing on Pei Qingyan's face. After my sister departed, I finally realized just how displeased he appeared. I nudged him, hoping to lighten the mood. Hey, what's weighing on your mind so heavily? Pei Qingyan turned his face away, silent, focusing solely on fiddling with the spray in his hand. I leaned closer, curiosity piqued. What's the matter? Speak up. What's there to say? Regardless, if I speak, no one listens. Even if they do, it won't ease their hearts. And even if it does, it won't lead to affection. How bitterly poignant his words were. Lacking in the art of consolation, I resorted to firmly turning his chin to face me and planted a kiss on his lips. How could no one listen? I hear you loud and clear. Pei Qingyan's face flushed deeply, yet he managed to utter, you just enjoy bullying me. I rubbed his cheek, though my thoughts wandered elsewhere. Why was his face so easily embarrassed? How could someone like him still go out seeking sweetness? As I pondered, my hand slowed and withdrew. Pei Qingyan turned to gaze at me, taking my hand and placing it back on his face. Why did you stop? I regarded him with suspicion. Withdrawing my hand once more, he became anxious, seizing my hand in a desperate grasp. What are you doing? You tease me halfway and then stop? How can you do that? Pei Qingyan, do you like me? Nonsense. I don't like you. Then let me rephrase. Do you flirt with others like this outside? Pei Qingyan fell silent, loosening his grip on my hand. I nudged him with my elbow, applying some force. Speak. He let out a muffled groan, lowering his head. Not speaking, are we? Then I shall inform my sister that I wish to change my marriage partner. After all, she merely wants someone to tether me. It doesn't necessarily have to be you. I rose, feigning a departure, but Pei Qingyan grasped my pants. I pulled, and he tumbled gracefully to the floor. Why are you doing this? Stop playing the victim. Please don't go, don't replace me. I am truly not the kind of malicious, self-centered person. I detest seeing others kneel before me. Thus, I pulled him, wishing for him to stand so we could speak properly. Yet he wore a pained expression, claiming his legs had gone numb. So I knelt before him, meeting his eyes. I concede to you. How can one person be so delicate? As soon as I uttered those words, tears welled in Pei Qingyan's eyes. So, are you going to abandon me because of this? What is this all about? I fumbled to wipe his tears. I'm not abandoning you. Goodness, are you made of water? I won't abandon you. I promise. Can we spend our lives together? Alright, that's what you said. Pei Qingyan responded, wiping his tears. Is this correct? At least he ceased his fussing, merely rambling on about how ungrateful I was, followed by lamentations about how all the good I had this month was merely deception. I found it utterly tiresome and kissed him once more. He fell silent, smacking his lips before suddenly asking, So, Chung Jinyan, do you like me? Even just a little is fine. A little still counts as liking. I gazed at him, noting his evident nervousness. Intentionally teasing him, I poked at his chest. The extent of my fondness for you is equal to your fondness for me. You have a slight fondness for me, and in return, I possess a slight fondness for you. Impossible. Why not? I asked, perplexed, as Pei Qingyan's expression grew complicated. Never mind, one day you'll understand. He uttered some cryptic words. However, it just so happened that I am inherently drawn to the unknown. Alas, it seems I am truly destined to fall for this scheming individual. At the family gathering at year's end, my sister was exchanging pleasantries with Pei Qingyan's father. Meanwhile I, having just called out to a circle of people, was exhaustedly nestled in the corner of a sofa. Pei Qingyan had taken my list to fetch some delicacies. Suddenly, I spotted a familiar figure appearing beside my sister and the Pei family. It was the sweet individual who had previously been by Pei Qingyan's side. Just then, Pei Qingyan returned. What are you staring at, looking so entranced? I cast him a sidelong glance, smiling faintly, as I reached for a piece of cake. Pei Qingyan immediately became restless, leaning in to embrace me. What's wrong? Who upset you? I turned his face with one hand, directing his gaze away. After several glances, he broke into laughter. Oh, it's him. Are you jealous? Do you wish to be hit? No, no, no. That's my cousin, my real cousin. Oh, so were you deceiving me before? Pei Qingyan chuckled awkwardly, flustered as he kneaded my legs and poured me some water. Friends of ours passing by couldn't help but exclaim, What a state you've gotten yourself into. How did you manage that? How did I manage that? Tying him up? Kicking him? No, no, no. Of course, I won him over with sincerity. Pei Qingyan's perspective. I despised Chung Jinyan. From the age of 5 to 15, and even more so at 25. At 5, being a premature infant, my health was frail, confining me to the house. During that time, Chung Jinyan visited with his sister. He was so lively, bouncing around with vigor. He invited me to play, but my father declined. Chung Jinyan's small face displayed a look of sympathy. So delicate, you'll surely grow up to be soft and fragrant. I was young and thought he mocked me, prompting me to cry. He panicked, flustered, wiping away my tears. Hey, 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 don't cry. What's wrong with being delicate? I adore soft and fragrant things. I sniffled and asked, Really? Absolutely. If you grow up to be sweet, I will definitely marry you. From that day forth, he frequently came to play with me. Such a spirited person would sometimes accompany me in reading or tending to the little flowers and plants. I later learned from my father that his parents were embroiled in a divorce, and he moved far away to live with his grandmother. Thus, I lost contact with him, and my disdain for him grew. At 15, I unexpectedly encountered Chung Jinyan again in high school. However, by then, I had transformed due to constant exercise, while he had also changed, though I didn't know why. Nevertheless, he was notorious even as a transformed individual. Overjoyed, I approached him, asking if he recognized me. He scanned me with an utterly unfamiliar gaze and asked, Who are you? His friends laughed at me, claiming many sought to get close to Chung Jinyan, but I was the most foolish, unable to introduce myself properly. I hurriedly said, I'm Pei Qingyan. We met when we were children. Yet, he remained indifferent and cold, walking straight past me. I don't know you. Move aside, don't block the way. My heart sank as if someone had pierced the balloon of joy within me. I resolved never to acknowledge him again. Surely, I was the only fool to remember childhood promises. Yet later, he saved me from some trouble caused by thugs linked to my father's business. Although I could have handled it myself, the moment I saw him appear, I was overwhelmingly delighted. I felt simultaneously elated and wronged. Why, if he treated me so well, did he pretend not to know me? This thought brought tears to my eyes. He picked up my backpack and handed it to me. You got scared and cried? So delicate. The same adjective. I longed to ask him why he pretended not to know me. Eventually, I realized he seemed to have genuinely forgotten me but still treated me kindly. Fine, I would consider it a fresh start in getting to know him again, believing our paths had converged anew. However, just when I thought we were back on track, he vanished again at 18 after graduation. This time, I reached out to his sister, who informed me he had voluntarily gone abroad, wishing to avoid any disturbances. And what about me? Could I be so easily cast aside? I truly began to loathe Chang Jinyan. At 25, I learned from the sister I had been keeping an eye on that she sought a way to bring Chang Jinyan back. I volunteered to arrange a marriage. After a brief hesitation, she readily agreed. My intention was to exact revenge on him. When I discovered he was again pretending not to know me, my anger flared. I told him that I liked sweet things and that after marriage, we could lead separate lives. He showed no reaction, which infuriated me. Later, he tied me up and even hit me. Didn't he hurt? In fact, it felt a bit exhilarating. Did he still harbor some feelings for me? Yet, the next day he disappeared again, off to revel for a week. I contemplated binding him or drugging him to bring him back. But what if he got angry with me? I could only seek help from his sister. I truly detested him for so easily forgetting me, being carefree and heartless, never truly focusing on me. So I resolved not to like him anymore. I thought I might as well go out and revel like him, staying out all night. Yet, every night, intoxicated, I would secretly wipe away tears thinking of him. However, upon seeing him again, my resolve would dissipate into thin air. I had made every effort to be strong, to stir his desire for conquest. Why could he not like me just a little more? But then he held my hand and initiated a kiss. Fine, I'll forgive him this time. Chang Jinyan said he wanted to host a proper wedding with me. Very well, all those previous encounters shall be disregarded. Only my love for Chang Jinyan will stand. Unquestionably, unequivocally. Sister's Diary Excerpts. October 24, 2025. Today, Mom and Dad fought about their divorce and it was quite a scene. I failed to keep an eye on Jinyan, and he rushed in to mediate. As a result, he bumped his head and ended up with a high fever that night. Both of them went off to their lovers, and I was left alone to call for an ambulance, staying with Jinyan in the hospital. The doctor said Jinyan had a severe fever and might forget many things afterward. He was only 5, enduring such hardship. It is my fault. I have let him down. August 27, 3040. Jinyan transformed into a. It must be that illness from his childhood left him with lasting consequences. My competitive, lively brother transformed into someone so constrained. It's all my fault. I should have spent more time with him. May 20th, 3045. I heard Jinyan fell in love with extreme sports abroad. He must be feeling stifled or perhaps just wants me to care for him more. The I sent a bad kid. He's just too lonely. July 12th, 3047. An unexpected incident befell Jinyan once again, and I could only endure the agonizing wait until he emerged safely from the operating room. Even before he had opened his eyes, I found myself compelled to return to my homeland. The doctor later informed me that the affliction from his childhood had resurfaced, potentially causing him to lose fragments of his memory once more. Why must my brother endure a life that he cannot fully experience? At no other moment have I yearned so deeply for someone to come forth and love him wholeheartedly. I implore, let someone show compassion for my young brother. January 23rd, 3050. I find that Pei Qingyan is a commendable young man, and I hope he proves to be a worthy companion for Jinyan. Yet I have also considered others. I sincerely wish that within my capabilities, I might witness the true happiness of my little brother in my lifetime. O Lord, please bestow upon him the joy he deserves. 25. The Lord said. The end of the text. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and liking to support us. Until we meet again in the next story.